Sitting before my fellow soon-to-be yoga teachers, I thought about what the concept of surrendering one's life to the divine really meant to me. My journeys through Europe taught me a lot about the wonderful blessings that can arise through trust and surrender. Through the testing moments, I learned many life skills that gush far beyond the confines of a textbook or the walls of a classroom. I first arrived at a nature camp for kids in the west of Amsterdam, just a 30-minute bike ride from the city center. During my time off, I enjoyed roaming the cobblestone streets of the city, admiring the deep green vines snaking through the ancient crevices within the stone architecture that filled my mind with wonder. Back at the camp, one of my favorite memories was being squished in the middle of a group of playful 8-year-old girls, singing songs and playing guitar. These children were happy, full of life, laughter, and vitality. They reminded me to stay present in the moment. I wore flower crowns, shimmering sparkles, and flowy dresses in order to step into my role as the magnificent forest fairy. As the children's tiny hands took hold of mine, I took delight in watching giggles escape the lips of innocence and grace. The weather this time of year was a bit in flux. While the days were mostly sunny, once evening drew near, I knew to bundle up to stay warm as the wind and the rain would often knock on my windowsill. While the distractions and comforts of daily life were stripped from me, there is something magical about waking up early to feed the chickens, spending time in my own presence, and breathing in the cool, crisp morning dew. Even though there is still a lingering voice in my head telling me to run back to the comfortable life I had left behind, I reminded myself of my initial hunger to travel, to explore, and to see the world. As I persisted in remaining open to the possibilities that were awaiting, a true blessing seemed to plot before my eyes. I was in for a pleasant surprise that the tight web of synchronicities had met me in Amsterdam. When I reached out to a friend of a friend who used to spend time in my hometown, Sarasota, she so graciously offered her home to me. I was thrilled to leave the mud and wetness of the camp and to step into the heart of Amsterdam, charmed with enchanting intricacies and interesting people. To this day, I still keep in touch with this wonderful woman who brought me closer to my Jewish roots, cooking Shabbat meals that filled the air with sweet carrots, potatoes, fish, and challah bread. We enjoyed each other's company, graciously dancing about the home, joining one another for tea, taking bike rides to the park, and centering our bodies and minds with yoga and Tai Chi. She's a very special woman who taught me a lot about generosity and remaining present in the moment. I will always cherish this wonderful time spent with her. After finally learning more about the camera while attending a photography internship in the heart of the city, I felt a drive inside of me to meet more people who I could collaborate with. This led me to create my very own photography club. I met some truly creative and fun individuals by putting myself out there. During this time, I also began attending ecstatic dances and taking up pole dance classes, which invigorated every cell of my body, reminding me of my power as a woman. This experience led me to take another leap of faith, and it wasn't long until I decided to hop on a plane to Switzerland. After a long, winding train ride through Switzerland, I walked along the side of the road, taking breaks when the pack on my back grew heavy. Once I took notice of a hidden beach, I didn't hesitate to pay the €2 to swim. Plunging into the cold, fresh water flooded my body with relief. I stayed at a place known as the House of Love, where I washed dishes in exchange for a place to stay. On the days I wasn't working, I would bike to the raging river and wonder what else was in store for me. It wasn't long until the universe provided an open door that I simply needed to step through. Instead of listening to the voice of fear of the unknown, I trusted in my strength. I packed my backpack full of clothes, hopped on 2 trains, and took a cable car up the mountain, where I was led to what is known as the Mountain Hostel. My first breath on this mountain smelled of fresh petunias. As I savored this intake of flowery sweetness, I knew I had made the right decision. My time here allowed me to uncover parts of this world that I never could have fathomed. I also really enjoyed the atmosphere of the hostel. The guests that had visited were lovely, and I relished in the opportunity to converse with people from all walks of life. Even though I spent my days hiking by myself, I found comfort in the liveliness of the nature that surrounded me. This land felt magical. As I strolled along the hilly terrain, I couldn't help but imagine myself as a character from the classic book series, The Hobbit. I'll never forget a very profound moment I had when I took a solo hike that ended in a plethora of raging waterfalls, dainty wildflowers, and wild rivers enfolded by mountains. I looked around in awe with tears in my eyes. I had felt a divine presence lingering in my every breath. In this moment, I asked myself the big question that I think many of us wonder. What am I here to do in this life? Why am I here? Of course, nothing spoke back to me, but I had an impulse to grab my camera. To me, the camera symbolizes many things, and this sign made all of my triumphs and tribulations worth it. As I told my story, I looked around at the faces staring back at me, and my heart plunged with gratitude. I took a pause and acknowledged the love in my heart for myself and the people sitting before me. I knew I wouldn't be sitting here today, talking to them about my journey and trusting in the divine, if I hadn't taken my own leaps of faith. I then went on to share more of my journey. After my return back to Amsterdam from Switzerland, I committed to a month of cat sitting in the city center. As I stayed in the stranger's home, I began reading a novel that she left for me about becoming a writer. This really inspired me to take more of an interest in the stories of others. As I spent more and more time tuning in, people really began to open up to me. I believe that we all have a story to tell. Everyone's life is unique, and when we spend more time listening to those around us, we will start to realize that we aren't just a piece of driftwood floating in an ocean full of dolphins. Spending nights out of the home, the Dutchman showed me respect, always paying for my meals and holding doors for me. This treatment was refreshing and aligned well with my hopeful romantic side. I believe everyone should be spoiled and treated with adornment. While I enjoyed my times of going to classical concerts and eating fresh steak dinners by the edge of the bay, I soon grew restless. My heart was longing for rhyme and reason. Eventually, after the constant meow seemed to linger in my ears and the black cat's needy green eyes seemed to see right through me, I reached a breaking point. With only 2 weeks left of cat sitting, I began to search. Almost immediately, I stumbled upon the Tantra Yoga teacher training in Portugal. and my heart plunged with delight. While the Taurus in me was longing for stability and a sense of familiarity, I knew I needed to trust this divine timing and release my seeds of doubt, nourishing the seeds of harmony, peace, and love. This training really allowed me to connect to my body and my breath, and the vast array of teachings really inspired me to change my life for the better. After my speech, one of my peers came up to me with tears in his eyes. He thanked me for sharing my journey, and he sadly admitted that he has really struggled to trust for most of his life. It's never too late to realize the ways that we live in fear and anxiety. It's easy for us to unconsciously inhibit our own happiness, limiting our abilities to open to the endless possibilities that life has to offer us. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is referred to as the 8 limbs of yoga. Each of these limbs offers guidance on how to live a life of integrity and bliss. Yama means how we relate to the external world, and Niyam refers to how we treat ourselves. The card Isvar Pran Dehana was a Niyam that I randomly pulled from the deck. I believe that each of us students that were soon to become yoga teachers pulled cards containing a key element that we needed to work on within ourselves. And giving a talk about the importance of having faith really allowed me to realize that the true blessings that arose for me came out of true trust. Another profound teaching that I took away from the Tantra Yoga teacher training involves polarity. I learned about the masculine energy, which is always constant, and the feminine energy, which is always changing. Shakti, or divine feminine energy, is full of life, energy, abundance, empathy, surrender, nature, and flow. Shiva energy, or divine masculine energy, zooms out to see the big picture, doesn't feel emotions, becomes the observer, makes plans, explores, is non-communicative, secluded, competitive, challenges the status quo, and is meditative. I thought about how I embody both of these energies, and this helped me to better relate to myself and others. Tantra is all about tuning inward to discover one's true nature and limitations in order to find unity in life. I believe that when we live in a state of openness and work on healing our own souls, the universe responds and reflects this healing light back to us. And at the end of this training, we were all given this quote to keep. I am Shakti as well as Shiva. I am everything, male and female, light and dark, flesh and spirit, perfectly balanced in one single moment, lasting an eternity. I love this quote because it just highlights that there is no separation and that we all embody the masculine and the feminine. After my time in Portugal, I ended up returning to Amsterdam to tie up some loose ends. Sitting with myself in meditation and releasing tension from my body allowed me to exude warmth and peace wherever I went. This was returned to me in many smiles and offerings of free coffees and pastries. It is up to each one of us to do everything in our power to let go of the victim mentality and to call upon prosperity, gratitude, and abundance. But I must acknowledge, taking off on a journey of self-discovery that is a common theme in so many classics did teach me a thing or two about myself and life. My grandmother, a Holocaust survivor, has a great deal of love in her heart of the European culture, and I am happy to have been able to experience this for myself. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this film has inspired you too to take tiny leaps of faith, which often lead to immense rewards, to continue to turn inward, and to have faith in times of struggle. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Namaste, my loves. I wish you peace, happiness, prosperity, and joy.